Hey everybody, Matthew GX here. I hope all of you are doing well. And today, as you can see by the display here, I'm going to be having a gameplay video for Mind Worlds. Now, I opened Mind Worlds a few weeks ago. I opened a couple of starter decks for you, and I'm decided I'm going to pit those two decks against each other now that I've learned the game a little bit and have a better understanding of the rules. I feel confident that I can show you this game on camera. Now, I've already kind of set up here. I've got the turn counter and the two trackers for influence. And I've also drawn the opening hands because both players start with 7 cards in their hands, and I'm ready to play. So, the premise of this game is that you and your opponent are each taking turns playing cards to fill the mind, which is the field with thoughts, and gain influence. And the game has a built-in time limit of 12 turns, and then once those turns are up, the player with the most influence at the end of the game wins. And so, with that being said, the red player, the player on the left, is going to be going first, and then the player on the right, the blue player. So, I've already dealt the hands, and I've got to get the game started, so red player is going to go first, so let's walk you through a turn. The first thing you typically do is you draw a card to start your turn, but since this is the first turn of the game and the player going first does not draw a card. At least I think so. Maybe I'll need some clarification on that, but usually in these sorts of games, there's a downside to going first, and I'm going to assume the player going first does not draw a card. But in addition to that, they also gain a unit of time, which is needed to play cards from your hand. So let's take a look at the red player's hand and see what we're dealing with. Now, there's generally one card type, and that's just thoughts. But there are a couple of qualities that can define a thought, such as its speed and its strength. So there are 4 types of card speeds. You got your normal cards, which can be played during your think phase, which is the phase which is for playing cards. Slow cards, which can only be pre-played, you put them to the side and they get a delay counter, which they will get removed after at the start of your next turn after you've drawn a card. There's also fast cards, which you can play on your opponent's turn to respond to their plays. They can go in after your opponent's played a card. You can play a fast card to respond to that. Already here is the final speed. These are similar to fast cards, except they have the additional quality of your opponent cannot respond to them. And also worth noting, again, there's 3 different types of strength as well. There's chill thoughts, strong thoughts, and intense thoughts. Usually the strong and intense thoughts have additional requirements for you to play them, but chill thoughts do not. You can just immediately play them if you have them. Now, going to the play phase, I'm going to have the red player, they're going to play this slow chase card as their thought per turn. So when they play a card, it enters this limbo area called the train of thoughts, which allows their opponent to respond to it. And then upon playing a card, the player loses their time counter. And now their opponent has a chance to respond with a fast or already here card. Unfortunately, they don't have any of those that are chill that they can play, because they have some fast cards, but they're either strong or intense and require them to put other cards into play. But if they did, well, how do you play cards when you don't have any time? Well, you can alternatively discard a card from your hand to act as that unit of time and then play that card. But since the blue player doesn't have any, they're just gonna not play anything. And so once the players are done playing the cards that they can, thoughts will enter the mind in the reverse order they came in, and then their effects will resolve. So this card, Slow Chase, is going to enter the mind on one of the 12 spaces on the grid, which makes up the mind, and then its effects will resolve. So a slow chase has the effect that if the turn count is 10 or more, they get to pre-play one or less chill thought. They ignore the card's requirements, and it gets played for free as a slow card. So they're going to go ahead and put and pre-play another card. They're going to take this new life card, put it off to the side, and it's going to get a delay counter, and that will go into play on the red player's next turn. In regards to the slow chase, if there weren't 10 or more turns on the field, then they would add 1 turn to the turn counter. But now that their turn is over, the red players decide they don't want to play any more cards, so the turn will go down. So now it's at 11 turns remaining. And now it's the blue player's turn, and they're going to go through the full shebang here. So they're going to start by drawing a card. They got the Fool's Mage. And they're going to play... They got a couple options. They're going to play... They're going to start with Lost Memory here, which states that when it's played, they draw 1 card from their opponent's deck. And so, I did forget the time, but that's okay. They just played it and spent it. So now the red player has a chance to respond with a fast card, which they are going to go ahead and do. They have a fast card in their hand, which is pretty good. They're going to play this Cursed Merchant. And now they have to discard a card. I think they're going to get rid of this slow card and put it into their discard. So now the blue player has a chance to play additional cards. And I think what they're going to do... I think they're going to save their cards for later, and they're just going to let things resolve. So cards, like I said, they enter the mind in reverse order. So this fast card's going to go first. And the Cursed Merchant simply states they project 1 card. They give an opponent 1 card from their hand, and then they pay its cost, and then they have it enter their side of the field. And then the player gains, and then they also gain influence per yellow card in the mind. So the red player is going to go ahead and gain 2 influence from playing that, and they are going to project this Mababy onto their opponent's side of the field. Now the opponent has to discard something to have it be played. They are going to choose to discard this Swirling Away as the cost. And with that being said, now the other card enters. So Lost Memory comes in, and they're going to draw 1 card from their opponent's deck. That might be a good one. And with that, it's now the turn it comes back to the red player. They're going to go ahead and draw. They're going to gain 1 point of time. They're going to remove this wait counter, and a new life is going to immediately enter. And so now they have a chance to play something else from their hand. So they are going to play this normal card on their play step. They're going to pay 1 time to play it. It's an intense thought called Evolution, which states that if there's 2 or more yellow cards in the mind already, and they have 1 or less strong thought in play, they can play it. They already meet those requirements, so they're going to go ahead and play that. And now it is the blue player's turn. They are going to try to play something if they can. It looks like they don't have any fast cards they can really use, so they're going to go ahead. So now cards are going to resolve, so Evolution's going to come in. They can pre-play 2 or less strong cards. they don't really have any strong cards. They do have the choice they can play, but they can't really use it. They don't really meet the requirements of doing Well, it does allow them to play them for free, so they're going to go ahead and take the only strong card they have, and they're going to pre-play it. And they also gain 2 times the influence for every yellow card, so they're going to gain a total of 8 influence here, since there's already 4 cards. And that's going to bring him up, the red player, up to 10. And then the new life card comes in, and that's going to allow them to draw a card. So they'll get a card. And that'll be the end of that turn. So now it goes down to 9, and it is the blue player's turn. So they draw, gain 1 time. The blue player needs to play stuff to get try to get a little bit of influence on the board. They did draw a card from their opponent's deck, and since they have 1 or less strong thought in play and there's plenty of yellow cards in the mind, they're going to start off by playing this Ritual of Life. And now they can still and I think the red player is going to respond to this card by playing this Intense Thought, the giant. They're going to choose yellow. They have 5. There's 5 yellow cards in the mind already, and they have 0 Intense Thought, so they can go ahead and play this by just discarding this other card from their hand. And so because it's an already here card, no other cards can be played, so it resolves. So the giant comes in. They get to reorder 5 cards from the top of their deck. They get to take these 5 and rearrange them in any order they like. They're going to put... They're going to rearrange them like that. And they also gain 3 times the influence per the chosen color. They're going to choose yellow again. So 3 times 5 is 15. So they go up to 25 influence. And so now the blue player's card comes in. It's Ritual of Life. They get to pre-play 1 or less intense card. So they're going to pre-play... I think they're going to pre-play this Crumbling Beliefs. So that will get a weight counter on it. And then they gain 2 times influence per yellow card. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So they have started... So the blue player has started to catch up a little bit, but they're still behind the red player who has 25. And so now it comes back to the red player's turn. They're going to draw their card. They're going to remove the counter from the choice, and it's going to enter the train. And now they get to come this side if they want. They also gain 1 time, and now they get to decide what they want to do. And we'll get to see if... And they're going to go ahead and play this Timekeeper, which will add 2 turns to the clock if it's played. Blue player gets to do a choice here. All right. Still deciding what they want to do. they're going to play the spin choosing yellow. They're going to discard Thought Bubble to pay its cost, and they're going to put the spin into play. And so now cards will enter in reverse. So the spin's going to come in. And they get to swap 2 thoughts in the mind with 2 forgotten thoughts. So forgotten thoughts being the discarded cards. So they're going to take these 2 cards, these 2 yellow ones, remove them. They're going to discard them, and they're going to put their own. And they're going to put their own thoughts into play. And then they gain 2 times influence for the chosen color. They're going to go ahead and choose the. They're going to still choose the yellow, since that's going to give them the most. They're going to go up to 20. So now the red player's cards go in. Timekeeper comes in. They're going to put 2 turns back on the clock. And then this card, the choice, comes in. Now, when you have a full field of cards, you basically just choose one space to play it over, and the other card gets forgotten or sent to the discard pile. So the choice enters, and they get to reorder 3 cards from the top of their deck and gain 2 times influence of the chosen color. So they're going to take their cards. I think they like what they see here. They're actually going to rearrange them a little bit. And now they gain 2 times influence. They're choosing yellow again. They're going to gain 10 more. And they go up to 35. And that's going to mark the end of their turn. And so the blue player gets to go. They draw 1, gain 1 time. And now this card enters the train. And now the blue player gets a chance to play something. And they're going to play this Mind Maze. Spending their time. I think that's the best course of action for them. And so the red player has no cards to play, so this Mind Moss is going to come in, which is a pretty interesting little card. Their opponent draws a card, and then they give you a card. And then they gain 1 influence per dark blue card in the mind already. So that's going to go first. Their opponent's going to draw 1. That was actually pretty... And then they're going to give them the only card they have in their hand, and which is actually a pretty good one. And then they gain 2 influence, so they go up to 22. And then Crumbling Beliefs comes in. The opponent discards 2 cards, but they don't have any cards to discard. And they gain 3 times influence per dark blue card, so they gain 9. So they will go up to 31. Now, the blue player has caught up pretty quickly here. And this field is full. So now we go down to... So now is the opponent's turn again. And now I think the opponent... They're going to still play... They're going to play their Slow Chase. And now it's the blue player's... Now the blue player has a chance to respond. With a fast card. They're going to respond with the Spider Web. They're going to discard their Constriction. So it goes to its owner's discard pile to pay its cost. And now things go in. So now the Spiderweb comes in. And when you play a card and the field is full, you can again choose 1 card to replace it. So Spiderweb comes in, it's going to delay all thoughts played for the rest of the turn, so the owner replays them as slow cards. So, and then they gain 1 influence per these, so they go up to 35 influence. And now this card gets replayed as a slow card. So it will get a delay counter, and now it is back to the blue player's turn. Drawing a card. And so now they have to choose. Now they're going to make a choice. I think they're going to play the Fool's Mage here. They have 3. They're going to choose. They have their 3. They meet the requirements. They are going to choose the 3 dark blue cards. Actually, no. They're going to actually play this Irreplaceable. And since the opponent has no cards they can play, they're just going to go ahead. It's going to enter. It's going to replace. They're going to replace this card. So this card forces the opponent to discard a card. The red player has no cards in hand, and they gain 2 times influence per dark blue card. So they're going to go up. So that's going to give them 10, and they will go up to 45. Now it goes down to turn 6, and they draw, gain, and then this enters the train. And they are going to use their time to play Toward the Sun, which is a slow card, so it will get a delay on it. And now the blue player has a choice to choose. They're going to choose to play the Fool's Mage, discarding this, and that will be their card per turn. So they're going to play the Fool's Mage is going to enter first. And that allows them to hide 3 thoughts. So they're going to hide these 3. So basically a hidden card cannot be targeted, and they all gain counters on them. And then once their turn ends, their counters will get removed and they'll flip back up. They also gain 2 times influence of the chosen color. They're going to choose yellow, gain another 10, bringing them up to 55. And they have quite a lead now. So now, Towards the Sun comes in. It's going to get a delay counter on it. And now Slow Chase comes in, and they're going to choose to replace this card. And since they don't meet the 10 or more turns requirement, they are going to instead increase the turn count to 7. And so this will be... And so they have nothing else they can play, so it goes back down to 6, and it is the blue player's turn. They draw, time, and remove the counters, flipping all the cards back over. And I think they're going to play this Space Melody for their turn. Opponent once again has no cards they can play, so this will just enter. And now they get to hide 2 cards in the mind with that they have, and they get a counter on them. So they're going to once again choose these 2. They also get to draw one card and gain one influence of the chosen color. They're going to choose, I think they're going to choose their yellow, so they're going to gain 12, so they go up to 67. And now it is the yellow player's turn. Draw, time, counter. This comes in. Sorry about that. And they're gonna spend their time to play this card. And the blue player has no fast cards they can play, so they're just gonna enter. They're going to replace this. Well, they don't get to replace that, actually. It's a slow card, so they're gonna play it. It gains 1 point of time. Well, 1 delay counter. Towards the Sun now comes in. They're going to replace this. They get to draw a card and then project a card. So they're going to project this, and their opponent has to play it. So they're going to replace their... And now blue player has to choose a card they're playing. They're going to choose to put the sleep. They're going to project the sleep into play. They gain 1 influence per... They're going to gain 1 influence per yellow, so they're going to gain 14... They're going to gain 12. So blue player is going to gain 12 influence. The red player is going to gain 6, going up to 41. And the blue player goes up to 79. Once again, it's the blue player's turn, so there's 4 turns left. I know I've been kind of running a little long here. Just bear with me. And the blue player actually has nothing they really want to play, so they're just going to save it for the next turn. And it is now down to 3 turns left. So draw. This comes in, and they have no they have no intense thoughts. They're gonna have to play this. They're gonna play this intense thought out, Lucid Dream, since they meet the requirements. They have no intense thoughts, and there are 4 yellow cards in play. Blue player's gonna respond though. And they're going to respond with silence. They're going to spend their time to play silence. So silence is going to come in first. It's going to enter over here. And that's going to silence a chill thought on the train. There's only 1. So balance will get silenced here. Lucid Dream now enters. And then they get to suggest any card before playing it. But they have no cards to really play with it, but they do gain 3 influence per yellow card, so they're going to gain 12. They're going to gain 15 influence here, so they go up to 56. And then their slow card... They do get their gains, but they are going to get their... They're not going to get its effect of canceling an opponent's gain, but they are going to gain... They're going to gain another 6 influence. They're going to go up to 62. So let's discard these to their owners. Discard. And now there's 2 turns left. So draw time. And they're and the blue player's kind of sitting on cards. They're going to play this sleep. And the opponent has no cards, so sleep's going to go ahead and enter. They're going to enter it over this card. And that's going to shackle any card up the opponent plays this turn. And they're not going to be able to play any more cards. But the more important thing is they gain blue player gains another 6 influence, going up to 85. And that's going to end their turn. And this is the last turn the yellow player has to be able to do something. Let's see what they can do. Unfortunately, they only really have 1 card they can play, and that's going to be this Towards the Sun. Blue player has nothing they can respond to it, so it's just going to enter with a counter. Unfortunately, that's going to render the time's going to be up for them, and that's going to end the game. We compare the influence now, so red player has 62, blue player has 85, so the blue player wins this game. That was a lot of influence. As you can see, this is kind of a unique game. It's not quite like your traditional Magic clone or Duel Masters clone. It's a very unique kind of game here, which is kind of cool, and you don't really see a lot in trading card games nowadays. And definitely let me know if you enjoyed this gameplay, and if you like this video, leave a like, and if there were mistakes I made, definitely let me know in the comments below. I always look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. As usual, I'll see you in whatever video I upload next, and take care.